Welcome everybody to another one of these lovely conversations that I've been having with really interesting people who've got lots of knowledge that can help us in these strange and unusual times that we find ourselves in. And today I'm really pleased to be with Victoria Smith-Gillard, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions. You know, how are you feeling? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling unsure of what to think, what to believe? Are you feeling confused? Are you feeling maybe disempowered or just kind of a bit lost? Because what we hope to bring to you in this particular conversation is some help to help you with those feelings, because I know a lot of people are, if not constantly in that kind of way of feeling, we ebb and flow, and sometimes it's just too much and other times we're not so bad, but there's these times where things just seem to get really overwhelming. So I want to welcome Victoria today, who's with me, and let me just tell you a little bit about Victoria before she speaks to us. Victoria is a people and pet therapist. So I know you're thinking, what does that actually mean? And I personally have had experience of Victoria's work with my dog. There were some things that were inexplicable with her, and Victoria was able to communicate and find out what it was we needed to do, and it was so helpful. It was just brilliant work. So she works with pets and their owners to help them resolve behavioural and emotional issues. So the issue will be manifesting maybe with the pet, but it's something we might need to resolve in ourselves, and the pet's trying to help us understand that. She says our pets are our messengers and often can show us what we need to heal in ourselves. It's absolutely beautiful. Victoria is qualified in various human therapies and works a lot with females who are suffering from toxic relationships, narcissistic abuse, helping to heal codependency issues and childhood trauma, and taking them back to a place of self-love, care and self-worth, which I think is what we really need now, don't we? And finding purpose in life and asserting healthy boundaries. Wow, do we need this right now? So welcome, Victoria, to the
Thank you, Aly.
And I'm really excited because we only decided to do this yesterday, didn't we, after a little chat about something that was going on out there with where people, you know, you and I have both said we met people who were just so overwhelmed right now and not being totally confused by what's going on, what the government are telling us, what the media's telling us, and things are just not adding up. And it's like, what on earth? How do we work our way through this and come to an understanding and also do what's best for ourselves? So we had this chat. So I think I've explained what you do, but do you just want to explain a little bit more about your amazing work?
Yes, certainly. So yes, I do obviously work a lot with people and their pets, and really, you know, what we're doing is we're getting a gut feeling often as to, you know, when somebody says this is the problem, as to, you know, whether it's something that the owner needs to heal within themselves or whether it's actually the pet that needs to heal within themselves, because obviously pets do bring in their own traumas from their backgrounds and experiences they've had, but also there's often that law of attraction, you know, like attracts like. So if the pet's got abandonment issues, then quite often you'll find that the owner has abandonment issues, even if they're not necessarily aware of it at that time. Often pets that have separation anxiety have codependent owners. So what I kind of tend to do is I'll be, you know, trusting my gut. I'll be feeling into it, and kind of asking a background as to, you know, whether they have had previous traumas. You know, any pets that have been, you know, rescue pets, gone from home to home to home to home. You know, often that might be a sense of abandonment that they're feeling, and, you know, am I going to be safe here? Am I staying? You know, the same as probably we would feel if we'd, you know, been kind of going from home to home. It'd be a similar thing. So what we then, you know, we then look at looking at both sides. So I can help pets release trauma. I can allow them to share their voice and be understood. So by working with the animal communication, it's allowing them to tell the owner, because often, you know, as owners, we tend to put this slight on it of they're being spiteful, or they're being naughty, or they're just doing it to spite me. They're just doing it because I said no to them because of X, Y, Z. And, you know, I always say to people, you know, everything they're doing is to feel safe. You know, so often you'll talk to people and you know, I've had somebody that said, oh, I really thought they would just tell you that they loved me. And I said, well, you've given them a voice. You've given them a voice through me to tell you what's going on. And most pets tend to go, right, are you sitting down, page 1? You know, so, but it's really good because it allows me like to be the mediator in a way. So I can share it, but then we can also look at how we can resolve that. And sometimes it is our own stuff that is like we're overprotecting them, we're over controlling them, if you like. And also obviously they're picking up on our heart centers, so they sense the world through electromagnetic fields. Our heart is an electromagnetic field, so whether we're conscious of what we're emitting or not doesn't matter. You know, they will pick up on that, and they will show it in their behavior. You know, they will show it in the way the way they're acting. So we look at both sides. So it could be one, it could be the owner themselves or the pet, could be both together. And also, I mean, you know, we won't go into fully on this one, but it can also be past lives. So, you know, Madeline Walker has a great book called Pets and Their Past Lives and How They've Come to Heal Us. And that gave me so many insights that actually often pets that come into our lives have been with us in other lives, the same as some people have been with us in other lives, and we've just recognized them as soon as we've seen them, and like, you know, we've never been away from them, and it's like, this is strange, I don't know you, why am I just being able to chat to you like this? So, you know, so that's going to be another section I think that's going to be coming up, is actually past life regression with regards to that. But so we, you know, we definitely help create like a deeper connection, a deeper understanding. You know, allowing that pet to have a voice is so important. You can take a pet from being like really angry at the start of the conversation to actually really calm because you've heard them. You know, and you're like, I will let your mum or dad know, or, you know, and we'll see what we can do. What help do you need? So, yeah, I absolutely love it.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because there were so many dogs rescued during the lockdown. I mean, I heard someone say recently they went to try and get a dog and they couldn't get one because they'd all been taken by people who realised that in lockdown they had this time for walking a dog, and the dog was another excuse for getting out of the house, another reason to get out. And so I think there's been a lot of that happen. So people will have inherited animals that have got all sorts of things going on.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to talk about today, Victoria, was the fact that what we said, you know, the fact that the way the government information is coming out and everything and confusing us, and that if this was a physical relationship, it would be a narcissistic relationship. It would be abuse.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And the way they've confused us is typical of that. And then turning things on us and saying it's our fault that something's not working, and the dividing us, you know, report someone who's not wearing a mask, or is, you know, snitch on your neighbours and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so what you were saying is, let's bombard the planet with love and healing, as opposed to the amount of fear that's out there at the moment, where people are, whether they're fearing that vaccines are going to be compulsory, that testing will be compulsory, you know,
digital passes, and absolutely. You know, if they're you know, if, you know, it is happening, you know, there's a lot of fear out there, and it's affecting a lot of people, you know, some much more seriously than others. And, you know, obviously we all care, and, you know, we don't like this happening to people. You know, it's been reported, you know, suicide rates have gone up. You know, I know that the charities that deal with a lot of mental health are, you know, they're being inundated at the moment, because people are suffering with anxiety and depression, you know, stress and overwhelm. So absolutely, it was like, well, actually, if there's being a lot of fear created, then let's try and balance that out, you know, by actually, you know, sending out a lot of love, you know, asking up to the angelic realm, and you know, the ascended masters, you know, like Saint Germain. You've got, you know, is one in particular who's very important in this whole ascension process that we're going through. You know, asking up to them for, you know, daily healing for not, you know, not just ourselves, but for the planet as a whole, because, you know, it's creating that collective consciousness, and it's the complete opposite to what's happening right now. As you say, it's that kind of divide and conquer, it's that separation. And, you know, as we learn in our Rahanni training, it's like we are all one. There is no separation. It is one consciousness. It's collective consciousness.
Mm.
And the thing is it's, you know, that's where we want to kind of tip that balance of like, actually, then let's put lots of love out there into the world. It's needed, you know, individually and for everyone on the planet to really get that sense of unconditional love, you know, for everyone.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of people out there who would be probably sitting thinking, this sounds great, but how do I do it? You know, what if they know nothing about this? You know, how do I ask for this help? How does it work? And so that's why we wanted to have this chat, really, to explain how they could do this. And I think you were talking about, it's interesting when you say to people about raising the vibration. You talked to me about the crab in the bucket analogy that I used, and I use this when people are on a self-development path. They will start to rise up. Let's take someone who wants to stop smoking. They'll be stopping smoking, but the friend will say, "Oh, go on, just have one." Well, one won't hurt you, because they want them to be back where they were. And the crab in the bucket thing was the guy in the restaurant goes into the restaurant and says, "Oh, your crabs, one of them's getting out of the bucket." And he said, no, they won't, don't worry about it. And he said, no, there's one right at the top, it's getting out. No, they won't get out. And he said, well, how can you be sure? Because the others will just pull it back in again. And that's what happens when, you know, we want to raise our vibration, and other people will just give us reminders as why that's no good. You're wasting your time. Just come back down here with us in all the dross, in all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying. We've got to raise our vibration up till eventually we raise it so much that everybody's going to come, whether they wanted to or not. They're going to find themselves lifted.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the whole, you know, planet needs. It's what people need at the moment is upliftment. And because I think there's so many people that are feeling a sense of powerlessness, a sense of hopelessness, a sense of despair, you know, and the more things that are being shared about, you know, measures that are being, you know, being or going to be brought in, you know, again, it's just creating more fear, more confusion, you know, more despair for people. We're coming obviously into the winter months now. The light levels are changing. You know, you've got seasonal affective disorder, you know, and obviously the lessening, if you like, of the vitamin D with regards to the light levels. And so it's really important right now for there to be, you know, much more of a raising of this vibration and of consciousness, and, you know, just trying to bring that up as much as we can to support people. And so, yeah, I think the thing is actually the more that people do that on a whole, the more the whole planet will come with, you know, it cannot not at the end of the day. So that's definitely, you know, that's what I sort of I was saying yesterday, you know, was with regards to healers, you know, and a lot of healers are doing it, you know, even if they're not saying it, you know, a lot of you know, healers are already doing like daily healing, weekly healing for the planet, you know, and that's why I was like, yeah, you know, healers, if we could all do this and do this, you know, as often as you can, you know, at the end of the day, bearing in your mind your time constraints and you know, the guidance, you know, that each healer gets from their own kind of spiritual team to do healing, and also obviously sharing for those that aren't you know, sort of Reiki healers or, you know, Rahanni healers or any other, you know, type of energy healing. You can do this just by the power of intention, just by actually putting that prayer up there. And I mean, I'm quite happy to share that with you know, people today, or they can just look at your profile or my profile, and they can see the you know, the layout, if you like, or that I shared yesterday with regards to that. about reaching up to the angels. You know, none of us have to believe in angels, A, for them to exist, or B, for them to help us. But they can't help us without permission unless it's an emergency, like unless it was a life-threatening emergency. So, you know, it's all people need to do is just ask up and just say, you know, Archangel Zadkiel, or if they don't know who they need to speak to, they could just ask, you know, whoever is the most appropriate angel for my situation. I could really do with feeling, you know, more upliftment, or I'm feeling really down today. I could do with some joy in my life, you know, and just ask up, you know, and put that up to them, and they will help. You know, they're omnipresent, so they can be with you, me, you know, people in Africa, people in Australia, all at once. You know, that's because they're energy. So, you know, each spark of their energy can go off and help different people at the same time in different places. It's amazing, and it's beautiful, but for people to know that.
I think what's also really interesting, what you're saying there, is that when we feel like the weight of the world on our shoulders, it's like, oh wow, you know, it's nice to think we can release some of that, we can hand it over, and get some help, and call in, you know, a lot the big guns, if you will. I like to use guns in this.
Yes.
Spiritual guns, the big spiritual guns. We can call them in and say, you know, this is too big. You know, I need to stop thinking about this. We need help here. And bring that in. And I think that's really important. Is we forget we've got this big stash of help if we want it, and that we're not alone. We're not alone. So you know what you were going to explain about the emotions, how the emotions stack up, the density of emotions, you know, with low vibrational coming right up to. So how does that work? So
you've got the emotional scale, and obviously there's various ones, but you know, Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks have produced a really good one. And you know, at the bottom that, you know, the lowest kind of vibrational emotion is like powerlessness and you know, grief and despair. And it was, you know, and I saw this actually when I was actually at a networking event yesterday, and the lovely Vivian Fox, you know, shared this emotional scale and just reminded me really that actually, you know, this did need to be brought up. I've been thinking about this sense of powerlessness that you know, people have been having, and I've certainly been triggered with it in the past. And the thing is that, you know, what those emotions are a very heavy vibration. They make us feel, you know, very heavy. You know, when people are feeling like very powerless and, you know, in despair and depressed and, you know, in grief, often you know, your body is quite slumped. You know, your vibration is being completely like pulled down with this. Whereas when you're kind of going up into the upper realms with, you know, the love and the joy and enlightenment and contentment and fulfillment, you know, all of those emotions, you know, are so much lighter, so much lighter. So it's about us kind of bringing more of that into our life. And at the moment, obviously, we're getting bombarded with these lower vibrational emotions by, you know, media, by the government, you know, from what they're saying and what they're asking people to do and not do. And as you say, you know, people getting confused with it. So that's then into the realm of like overwhelm, which is on that emotional scale as well. And so, you know, and people are getting angry. And again, you know, that's one of them. Fear, that's another one. So what we're looking to do is actually, you know, it's that surrendering, as you say, and letting go, and actually saying, actually, I'm now not in control of this anymore. I'm not in control of what they're going to share with us. I'm not in control of what they're going to do. What I am in control of is my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own behavior, and I can respond. Absolutely. You know, we can react or we can respond. And, you know, responding for me is about self-regulation. It's about understanding, for instance, that we've been triggered. Whereas reaction is often, you know, we see something or somebody says something, we kind of, you know, we react. So we don't have time to go, okay, I've been triggered there. Actually, that's something I need to deal with. So I think, you know, one thing I would say is it's about us beginning, you know, if I know loads of people already are doing it, but as you say, on that kind of path of personal healing and personal development, is about taking responsibility for how we are feeling, and actually, looking at resources we can use to feel better. And I know we're going to come on to that a little bit later, you know, to actually start sharing those with people, because the more that we do that, the more that we start to release things that are held within us, you know, we will start to raise our vibration at the end of the day. Because you know, if we've got all this anger stuck in our body, we've got this fear, and you know, obviously that's going to be compounded from previous things that people have been, you know, that have gone through. So of course, once you start releasing that, your body's going to feel lighter, because suddenly it doesn't have all of that anger, or it doesn't have all of that overwhelm or frustration. So that there are definitely, you know, many things that people can do. As I say, definitely asking up to the angels for healing. You know, asking up to, so Archangel Zadkiel is all about negativity. You know, he helps to, you know, transmute negativity. He helps to kind of purify your mind, body and soul. And he works with, so Saint Germain was the one that actually asked for the violet flame to be returned to the earth, and it was gifted back to humanity to help with this ascension process and help with you know, this change in consciousness in humanity in about 1988, I believe. And he works very closely with our Archangel Zadkiel, who worked with the silver ray of light. So they merged the two together, so that actually this brought in this ray of wisdom. So the silver violet flame combines obviously the two energies, if you like, and it actually helps to release and clear, you know, negativity and fear and the lower vibrational emotions. So by people asking up for that, and then asking for, you know, beautiful healing white light to come in, you know, that pure light that can actually then fill your body, you're helping yourself. And so that's
so
why
someone, for instance, you could Google Archangel Zadkiel images, get an image of him, and get an image of Saint Germain and the violet flame, and you could just print those pictures off, and just if you had that, you know, stuck on your fridge or something, it might remind you every time that you're feeling this, oh, here we go again, you know, what am I going to do, that possibly going to lock us down in the half term or what. You can, like, let's pass this over there, because that way you're not doing that physical, emotional and psychological damage to yourself.
Absolutely.
And it sounds a little bit airy fairy, but the thing is, what I'd say to people is try it. What harm, what have you got to lose by trying this stuff? If you're if you don't believe in any of this stuff, just try it and see what difference it makes. And I'll tell a story, actually, Victoria, because years ago I met this woman a long time ago. I went to a Tai Chi class or something. It was, I'm going back 30, 40 years ago. And lunchtime came, and she opened her lunchbox, and in it she had red peppers, red onion, cucumber. She had like yellow peppers, just multicolour of stuff. And I remember I had like a sandwich or something, and I remember I looked at her and I said, oh, that's an interesting lunchbox. And she said, oh yes, well, I'm feeding my aura. And at that point I didn't understand. I was like, what, you know? And I just thought, a little bit wacky, I'll give her a wide berth. And now I know exactly what she was talking about. She was talking about building an aura like this, that's on, you know, here, through what she ate, because what we eat affects us. You know, if every time we're receiving this bad news, we go and drink yet another cup of coffee and a chocolate biscuit, we're not going to raise our vibration. But if we reach for an apple or an orange and go for a walk, we are. Yeah,
because they've done studies, haven't they, where they showed the vibration of food. They actually, I think it was like light, I can't remember what it's called, but, you know, phototherapy or whatever it might be called, to show the vibration of food itself and how.
Oh, you mean Kirlian photography?
It may well be the one where it shows the energy field.
The energy field,
of the fruit. And that was amazing to see. And, you know, I know a lot of people are unsure about her these days, but Doreen Virtue always said, you know, the live foods, you know, the fruit, the vegetables, you know, things like that, have a much higher energy than obviously than the processed foods. And at the end of the day, obviously, we know that processed foods aren't good for us, and, you know, we know that obviously eating healthy right now is important. You know, is as important. I mean, 90% of our psychological well-being comes from our gut.
I know.
So if we're filling it with all the crud and, you know, processed foods and the junk, and I've seen it in somebody who somebody around me who was doing something to their kitchen, and I'd said to them, just, you know, when you're doing this, because obviously it meant their cooker was coming out and all they'd have was the microwave, and of course then it's very easy to go, oh, I'll just have ready meals for the next 3 months, and I said to them, just you know, just try and eat, like, you know, non-processed food where you can, like build it into it, even if you did have a ready meal, you know. And you could see their well-being going further down as this project continued onwards, because you know, obviously they were sort of doing the ready meal route and not having that nutritious food, you know, so it really does affect us. So yeah, definitely.
What would you say then for someone who wants to, they're feeling overwhelmed and confused? If I came to you now and I said, I'm in real overwhelm here, Victoria, I'm hearing mixed messages, they keep talking about the testing, the number of cases, but it's not related to the deaths. I don't know what to believe. You know, the deaths are low, but the cases are really high, and they're saying it's all going to lead to more deaths. And I don't know what to believe now. What would be the first thing you'd say to them to do to relieve that feeling of overwhelm?
Yeah. For me, it would be working with some kind of energy work, if you like, so something that's going to actually start releasing these emotions, this stress. So tapping is a really good one. YouTube has tons of videos. You can just type in tapping on YouTube. You can type in tapping for depression, tapping for grief, tapping for, you know, shame, frustration, anger. There's loads of people on there, you know. I mean, you've got the big ones, you've got Carl Dawson, you've got Nick Ortner, you've got Brad Yates is another one that I've seen on there, you know. So that will really help, you know, because what you're doing is when you're tapping on the ends of the meridians in the body, the flow of energy in the body, so you're helping release. So people will probably find when they start doing that they'll yawn, you know, or they might feel sensations in the body as like those areas that were tight and tense start to actually release. Another really good one on there is Donna Eden. So she works, you know, a lot with energy medicine itself, and she's got, if you type in Donna Eden 5-minute energy routine, she's got various energy medicine processes, if you like. It's so easy to do, 5 minutes max, and again, she's working with the energy in your body. There's ones in there that actually help people cross the energy over in the body, because when people are feeling quite depressed, the energy tends to run straight down, and the energy is actually meant to cross over in the body. So one of the techniques she uses is to cross the energy over in the body. Another one that she uses is something called Wayne Cook posture, which you know, that helps to kind of unscramble the mind, and you know, that's a really good one to do. She uses neurolymphatic, I suppose, massage, if you like, on the points, especially things relating to the spleen. And
some of these little exercises, because some of the Cook's hookups is kind of what you were talking about there. You can do them sitting at the bus stop. You could do them sitting outside waiting in a pharmacy, waiting for your medication or whatever it might be. Once you know how to do it, you can do it sitting there. And nobody even needs to know that you're doing anything. That's the magic of it.
Well, with tapping, I mean, you can, you know, tapping you could do at a traffic jam, you know,
in your car.
And okay, so people can see you like tapping on your face, and who cares? Like if because the thing is if you're a very empathic person, a very sensitive person, you're probably going to be picking up, you know, people's energies that are all around in the cars, who are getting frustrated or angry in the traffic jams and whatever's going on. So again, you know, use the tapping to release that. Obviously don't do it when you're driving, you know, but if you're in a traffic jam and you're not moving anywhere, or there's been an accident further up, apart from obviously asking healing to be sent to the people involved in the accident, which I always say to people to do, is, you know, just sit there and actually tap out your own emotions. So tapping is a really good one. Energy medicine of all the different varieties is really good. But looking up Donna Eden, as I say, on YouTube, she's got loads of different videos, but her 5-minute routine is so quick, so easy to do. I did it, well, I do it, but I've had sort of breaks between it and things, but I did it back in February when I started using it, and within 3 days my energy was so different, you know, because obviously you're if you're working with the lymphatics, you're starting to kind of you know, get those kind of working again. I mean, she does one where it's the 3 thumps or whatever. So she's thumping on the part that actually your thymus, which relates to your immune system, which of course right now is amazing to do. So even if people just did that one and find tapping videos and, you know, breath work. So when you do a longer exhale, that activates your relaxation response. And, you know, as many people will know, when they're overwhelmed, when they're anxious, often it's shallow breathing from the kind of the top of the chest. So when you actually, you know, if you do that for, you know, say 10, 12 times, you know, you'll find that actually your energy starts to change. You know, if you did it for 20 minutes, you know, after you'll find that you do feel calmer, you feel more peaceful. And some things people will resonate with, and some people go, oh, I didn't really get on with that. And that's fine. Like, just work with what resonates with you. You know, so breath work is another one. Yoga, I'm sure you'll be able to.
Yoga.
You know,
water, I think, really important. Drinking lots of water.
Absolutely, you know, so someone around me, so Elaine Stavert, I will credit her because she's the one that told me this, you know, is actually often when you're dehydrated, this dehydration can create anxiety in the body. It effectively that you then get kind of that, it can and mimic feelings of anxiety. You get kind of that blood sugar imbalance side of things. So again, if people want to kind of work with somebody to do with gut, I would highly recommend Elaine Stavert. There's Kerry Madrick, there's, you know, and there's going to be, you know, many other sort of people out there, nutritionists and, you know, holistic practitioners in that guise who can definitely help. But yeah, absolutely. You know, water is a biggie. And I notice if I don't drink enough, you know, since having storage heaters back on, I notice that sometimes I'll wake up and I will have like the anxiety type symptoms. But actually then when I go and drink more water, it will calm down again. So actually,
and of course, it's really important if you've been emotional, if you've been crying, or if you've been upset. Water's really important then, because you've got to replace what you lose. You know, where do we think these tears are coming from? There, it's water. You know, it's your body. They're very cleansing, tears are, but we need to replace that fluid. Absolutely. So really, really important. Just going over what we were saying here, because you're going to be doing some Facebook Lives to demonstrate some of these techniques, aren't you? And to help people with maybe short mini meditations and things, releasing stuff and letting it go. And if they're not very confident at, you know, calling on an angel or calling on some higher energy to shift something, then working, you know, to have a little video, a 10-15 minute video that you've done can really, really help, can't it?
Yes, absolutely. Because it is, you know, I mean, a lot of us, like even, you know, therapists, certainly I when I started meditating, I mean, meditation is another one that can help people because it balances the left and the right brain. And, you know, it does definitely calm down the nervous system. But when I started meditating to start with, I struggled to just, you know, because people say, well, just sit and just be, you know. But of course, the thing is actually often when you start doing that, it's like your little monkey mind comes and goes, okay, you're really quiet now. I can ask you what I need to do for dinner and what am I going to do for tea. I've got this to do tomorrow and I need to add this to my list. And, you know, this little monkey mind comes in and chitter chatter. So I found to start with, like, guided meditations would be really good because it actually meant that monkey mind didn't come in because I was actually, you know, just focusing on the guided meditation and where I was going and what I was doing and how I was feeling. You know, so they're definitely, you know, really good. And I think that's the thing, it's giving you that support and that guidance, because it's all right, you know, myself and other people saying, just do this, just do that. But unless often, you know, because we do it, it's sort of automatic with us. It's natural to us to know how to do it. But I think, you know, we all, including myself, have to remember that actually, if you're not into this way of life, you're not into spirituality, or, you know, you haven't worked with angels before, you know, you've had no connection with angels, you might have an interest, but it's not necessarily gone any further, that they don't know that you know, I've had people say to me, do I ask out loud? Do I ask in my head? And I've said to them, actually, it doesn't matter whichever, because they're still hearing that intention from you. They're still hearing that prayer. You know, so it's something that you forget because you just do it. So it's really good for people to kind of have that sort of like sing along, if you like, isn't it? You know, that just walking them through it and walking them walking them through the meditation, or walking them through, obviously, doing that, or the technique that we're going to share today, just walking them through that in terms of actually how they can help themselves as well. So
really important. It's really basic stuff, and it's a lot of it's free that we're talking about here. We're not talking about people paying for things. We're talking about these are, once you know how to do them, they're free, and you can call on them anytime, in the middle of the night, whatever it might be.
I mean, I've used breath work and tapping if I couldn't sleep.
Tapping I've used if I've woken up, and especially when you got the rat in the treadmill kind of thought going around, what if? It's like, well, let's just tap on this, even though I'm worried about this, even though I'm my fear is this, tap, 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 and then you find that leaves you and you're able to go off to sleep. So it is very, very powerful. And I think just surrender this, and know. So here's the other thing, is that I think often we can think we're alone in feeling a certain way, and yet we're not, because there are other people feeling exactly the same as we are. So we might be worried sick about sending our kids to school and finding they come home and they tell you, oh, today the nurse came in and she gave us all the flu jab and you didn't want your kid to have that, or and worrying. But there's so many people in the same boat. And it's just reaching out really to find those people, and then have a community of people who feel the same way.
And it's also, I was going to say, it's also helping the children as well, isn't it? I mean, someone I spoke to yesterday, said that they've basically said to the school their child won't be wearing a mask to school, because actually what they were trying to prevent was their child actually suffering from anxiety and fear, and that actually came across to them when, I think it was somebody at the school gate had rung, the child had rung the mum and said, where's my mask? I can't find my mask. It's not in my bag, and this poor child was like full of anxiety, full of absolute dread and fear, what am I going to do? And so these resources can actually be really helpful for children as well. And actually, when, as parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, but, as parents, if we're modeling that to children, then they can see that actually, okay, so if I'm feeling that way, I can just tap this out, and that's okay, that's all right for me to do that. There's no shame to do it, so again, it's that whole, it's letting go of that mental health stigma, isn't it, again, and actually just allowing people to understand that these are resources that have been around for centuries, for you to use to help release that energy.
So should we do a little one now, a little exercise that So if we're give us some examples, Victoria, if somebody was feeling just that they despairing, I just don't know what to think anymore. I don't know. I'm very scared and I don't know what to think.
So I often say to people, look at what you're believing about yourself. So do you, I mean, a big one at the moment, as I say, is people believe that they are powerless, for instance, because actually everyone else is dictating what's going on and what you do and what you don't do. And by releasing this, it's not like you're then charging everybody to go out and, create absolute chaos. But, with narcissism, one of the, often victims will suffer with this belief that they are powerless, or helpless is another one. So those are quite big ones really in terms of it. So actually, when you understand, okay, so I'm being triggered, actually it's because I feel powerless, I believe I'm powerless, we can let that go, and then you're actually starting to heal your wounds, even if it's triggered by government rather than a partner, or by family, or a friend, or a work colleague, or whatever. So if they are feeling that, I often say to people, okay, what is it you believe about yourself? So if you're scared, what is it what does it mean about you, this situation? But that's when people might say, well, I'm powerless, I'm helpless, I'm dismissed, could be another one. I'm ignored, I'm not important, so I'm insignificant, so that might be another one. So if people, because I am is where you know, those limiting beliefs come in, and that's where you want to look at releasing that. And we can, I mean, we can use this technique to release the emotions. So you can, if somebody wants to work with the emotion itself, you can definitely work with that. But I say to people also, the belief I'm powerless is what's going to be creating the emotion within me, because the thought affects the feeling that affects behavior. So I often try and get people to that point of, okay, what does it mean about you? What do you believe about yourself? So if they said, you know, I am in this state of despair, you know, it might be that they do kind of say, well, yeah, I believe I am powerless in this whole situation, or I'm absolutely helpless. And so that's where we go, okay, so what I want you to do is actually look at where when you say those words, I am powerless, or I am helpless, or whatever the word is after I am, where are you feeling that in the body? And I get people to just spend a few moments just doing that. Where are you feeling that in the body? And, you know, it can be the most random place. You know, often people find it strange when they kind of go, it's not in my head. Because, of course, they're seeing it as a logical thought, therefore surely it should be in my head. But I've had people say it's in the tip of my little finger, or it's in my toe, or it's in my hip. And I'm like, that's fine. Wherever it is fine. You know, it's where it's lodged in the body, and that's what we look at releasing. And then what I would say to people is to just close their eyes. So I'll kind of talk through it as if we were doing it. So I'll just say, close your eyes. And as you're feeling into that, you know, where it is in the body, that belief, I want you to tell me what it looks like.
So I was just thinking about helpless.
Yeah.
It feels across the bottom of my stomach like a band.
Okay. And what does that band look like? Describe that to me. Tell me more.
I think sort of a yellow sort of banana shape, I would say.
Okay. And so now we're going to work on how it feels. So how does it feel, Aly? Does it feel
tight?
Light? It feels tight. Okay. Has it got any weight to it?
No, just very tight.
Just very tight. Okay. And can you feel what the band is made of?
Thick rubber.
Okay. So it's a tight, thick rubber band. Okay. And so what I now would say to you is, if you could release that today, would you like to release that? Okay. So what I want to say to yourself and to all the viewers that will be watching this is within our energy. You know, we're in control of our energy. We're in control of what we keep in our energy. And a belief or a thought is still energy in itself. So we can release this. So what I want you to do is, I want you to just focus on that area. I want you to focus on that belief, I am helpless, and where it is in your body, what it looks like, what it feels like. And then when you're ready, I want you to start rolling your hands one over the other, like you would be kind of winding wool around your hands. And it doesn't matter which way you roll them, clockwise or anti-clockwise. And I want you to imagine that you can pull that band out of you. So you might want to bring it out as if it is like a strand of wool being pulled out and unraveled bit by bit, or it might be pixelated and you pull it out in that way, or it might be just as the band itself. You're pulling that out as you roll your hands one over the other, and just keep doing that. Keep pulling that form out, that tight yellow band that represents that belief, I am helpless. And just pull that out of you with each roll of your hand. And if you need to, take deep breaths during this. If you can feel any resistance there, just breathe into the resistance. Just remember that actually you're in charge of your energy. You're in control of whether you keep this energy or not. And you've chosen today to release this energy, to release this belief. So just keep rolling your hands one over the other until you feel like you've pulled every bit of that out of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to just take a few deep breaths, just breathing into your chest, into your abdomen, and then just nice long deep exhales as is comfortable for you. And what I would say to the viewers is sometimes we yawn when we release as well. Sometimes when we release this energy, we yawn, not always. But if you keep yawning, then it's probably still releasing, because sometimes it's releasing from the different layers of our energy field. So I often say to people, then just keep those breaths going for, say, 3 times, 5 times, if that's the case. And now I want you to, when you're ready, I want you to just kind of cup your hands together as if you had something in your hands. And I want you to imagine, what would be the opposite of helplessness for you?
Freedom.
Freedom, okay. And if freedom could look like anything, what would it look like in your hands?
It would look like a pink rose.
Pink rose. Lovely. And does that pink rose have any smell or scent to it?
Mm-hmm. A lovely scent. A nice scent.
And you see the yawnings coming up. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what else can you tell me about this pink rose? Is it big? Is it small?
That's my dog.
Thought it was fun.
She's doing the breathing for me. Sorry, so it's scented. It's a lovely scent.
Yeah, and you said it's a pink rose.
Yeah, soft, and it's fully. You know, when they've blossomed out, it's not a bud. It's blossomed out, the rose.
Okay. And does it have this? What you're seeing, this freedom? Does it have any weight to it? Is it heavy? Is it light? Or is it weightless?
Yes, it wants to rise up. It wants to lift up.
Okay. So what we're going to do now, when we eliminate, we always replace. So when we release energy, then we want to obviously replace with a new energy that's serving us. And you've chosen today that this is going to be this sense of freedom. So what I want you to do now is that beautiful pink rose that you have and are holding in your hands, I want you to actually place that in your heart center. So just bringing your hands up to your heart, or your heart center, which is kind of in the middle of your chest like you're doing, and just allowing that rose, that beautiful scented pink rose, to integrate within you first of all. And just feel that becoming one with you. Feel that becoming part of your energy. And then what I want you to do is I want you to allow that rose to just gently travel down to the area where that old form used to be, where at the moment there is that empty space. Now obviously, you know, that energy is limitless, so you can still have that pink rose in your heart, but you can also have a sense of that pink rose in that space. And I want you to fill that space where that old form used to be with that beautiful new scented pink rose. So you might just feel that very gently floating through your body, floating down as if kind of, you know, leaves that falling off trees just gently float to the ground, just allowing it to float down. Might float down your spine or just down your body in whatever way is right for you, into that space. And just again, just feel it settling there, feel it becoming, you know, one with that space. Feel it being part of you. Because this new energy, our unconscious, knows exactly what is right for us today. It knows what energy is needed to replace that old form. It knows what will serve us. And so today, it and you have chosen that beautiful scented pink rose. So just feel that within. Like it's now just part of your cells, it's part of your whole being. And then just take 3 nice deep breaths to just again seal in that energy to your heart and to, you know, where the old form was. And then just notice how you're feeling now.
Definitely lighter.
And that's quite common. That's quite a common response I get with this technique, is people often feel lighter, they feel more peaceful, calmer, relaxed.
Gosh,
You're still yawning, so that's good,
watering.
you know, so that's good to me, you know, that's a release, you know.
It's good stuff.
And so that's how I work with that, is you know, is, and people can do that with emotions as well. So if they feel like they're struggling to get to the belief, you know, they can still do it with the overwhelm. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Where is it in my body that I'm feeling that? Some people will feel it more than one place. They might say, oh, it's in my head, but I can feel it in my chest. And often I'll say to people, okay, which one you, if you could rate it out of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, you know, which would be the highest number? And they're like, oh God, it's in my head. And then I'll go, okay, so what does it look like? What does it feel like? And then I just get them to roll that out. And then obviously, you know, okay, what would you like instead there? And it might be that it's the complete opposite to what they said. Like you said, the opposite for helplessness is freedom for you. For powerlessness, people might say empowerment. Some people might say power, you know. You know, feeling unloved, it might be, you know, just love, you know. And again, so then we get them to actually visualize what that would look like, sense what it would look like, because some people don't like struggle to visualize, so they can just sense it. You know, they might feel it first, you know, they might kind of know what it feels like to touch it, or how heavy it might be, or what it's made from, or whether it's moving around and bouncing, or, you know, just vibrating or pulsating or whatever it is. And then again, they can, you know, they can just bring their hands up and just feel that energy going into that space and integrating with them and becoming one with them. Because, as I say, you know, our conscious is there for our highest good. You know, it's there to, you know, one of its prime directives is to look after our health. You know, it's there for our, as I say, for our highest good. So the energy that it's creating today, it doesn't matter how random it is. You know, I've had, you know, prickly hedgehogs, and I'm like, what's that mean? And I've had candy floss, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter.
You don't have to analyze what the thing means or what it. Yeah, that's
absolutely
good.
So
would you say the advice to someone would be who's feeling whatever the emotion is, overwhelmed, distress, disempowered, as you said, overlooked, whatever it is to acknowledge that feeling? For don't just keep pushing these feelings down.
No.
It's to work with it, isn't it? That's the gift in this, is work with it, to release it so that you can feel better.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, on top of, you know, because some people might be feeling at a point where it's just like, actually they're not in a headspace where they want to type onto YouTube or they want to do that. So I would say for people that are really feeling at the point, you know, that they're perhaps, you know, suicidal, or you know, they literally can't even be in that space where they even want to turn the computer on, or they know how to turn it on at that point, you know, reach out, you know, seek help. You know, you've got Crisis, you've got the Mind mental health charity, you've got Calm campaign against living miserably, you've got Anxiety UK, you've got the Samaritans. So I would always say to people as well, you know, if they're at the point where they actually are feeling suicidal, they don't want to be here anymore, reach out to those charities, you know, reach out to the, you know, to the NHS, you know, phone obviously those teams, you know, if you're thinking of, you know, if you've done something, obviously, you know, A&E, you know, like, reach out to people, because you know, that's so important, and there's no shame around this, you know, around doing that, because the whole world right now is pretty much going through a trauma response.
We all are.
You know,
and do you know what's interesting as well, Victoria, is I think sometimes we look at people and we think they seem to have their act together. Oh, they're coping, they're doing it okay, and we don't know what someone's feeling or what their true feeling is, you know, or how they're actually coping. It may look like they are, but they aren't, or that they've got their act together. So often, you know, what's going on the outside, and that can be true in the reverse as well. Someone can look like, you know, that they may be not coping at all, or that, you know, they're falling apart, but they're actually doing okay, but they're admitting that they're, you know. So it's just not judging, isn't it? Not judging how someone is, but just, we've, like you said, when we started talking about this was we've got to take some responsibility for ourselves as well.
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, you know, I shared with you, you know, I felt really down the other day, and you know, I let it go on for a little while, and I felt it, and I was like, actually, I have a choice now. I can either choose to continue being in this space, or actually I can do something about it, you know, and I chose to do something about it. I went for a walk in nature, you know, because nature's very healing, and as you say, it's free. We can get out there, you know, being in that space. You know, I then came back, I checked in with myself, I did some meditation, I did some tapping, you know. So and I know, you know, for therapists, obviously it's perhaps a lot easier for us because we have those resources. We know that they're around. We know they're there. You know, we've got, you know, buddies that we can call and go, hey, you know, I could really do with your help right now. You know, so I know that we are very blessed in that way, which is why, you know, obviously this is why we're kind of putting this video out, aren't we, really, just to say to people there are resources on YouTube. You know, there is our environments, you know, going to like water, especially like, you know, being by the sea or being by a beautiful lake, you know, and just being able to sit and breathe and, you know, do mindfulness. There's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, isn't there, of the, you know, 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you can feel or touch, 2 that you can smell, and generally the 1 you don't use. 1 is taste, but you, unless you know what it is, then obviously don't taste it in case it's poisonous. But you know, but obviously that might be, you know, somebody might see a blackberry or a strawberry or whatever, and you kind of go, yeah, I know exactly what that is. But you know, just taking time to spend you know, in nature, you know, being in a meadow and just sitting and allowing the sun to hit your cheeks, and just, again, like we were saying earlier, you know, surrendering and letting go, just going, right, I'm going for a walk. I'm not going to think about anything. We are going for this walk. We're going to be mindful. We're going to look at the beautiful colours around us. And actually, if there's people coming to us, you know, like elderly people might be walking towards you and things, and obviously with the, you know, the social distancing side, but you can still smile at them. You can still give them a wave, because you might, you know, that might be the only time they've gone outside that day. And actually, when we do that, often it makes us feel good, because they go, you know, and they'll smile back, you know, and they'll acknowledge. So, so it's, you know, it's, I know, you know, we are blessed, to say, as therapists, to have all these different resources around us. But I would say to anybody, you know, if you're feeling that way, you know, there are resources to help. There are the charities that are there to listen, that are there to talk things through. And I, you know, I know that they've got, you know, they are, you know, inundated right now, you know, because obviously there is so many people with anxiety, not just from the pandemic, but, you know, if they've lost their job, or if they've been furloughed, or if
there's so much for people to be concerned about. So I think, and often, you know, you're talking about reaching out to charities and things, but very often people like yourself and other therapists have free things that they'll give you, you know, on their website, or it's something that you can use. So it's worth looking at that. So yeah, hopefully, I hope this will help people to be able to see a different way that they can feel. So if somebody wants to find you, Victoria, where do they find you for your work, your animal work, and the one-to-one work you do with them?
So I've got a website, so www.ametrine, AMETRINE, holistics.co.uk or .com, so I've got both. And also I've got Facebook page as well, which is Ametrine Holistics Limited, and also on LinkedIn I'm there under my own name, Victoria Smith-Gillard, as well. So yeah, and obviously I, you know, as you said at the beginning, I'm going to be looking at doing some Facebook lives to actually, again, sort of bring some other techniques to the table to, again, sort of help people look at, you know, releasing some of these beliefs. And it could be some meditations. There might be a you know, a Rahanni activation as well for people as well, that can actually help them. And I know you've done that, you know, and you said that was,
I did that really one at the Lionsgate portal with you, stood in the middle of a field, and you were on Facebook doing the meditation, and I did it at the same time, and it was a magical thing to do. Very, very powerful. So these things are so powerful, that all the subtle energy stuff, don't underestimate it. It can be very, very powerful, and powerful for the world as well. Let's, even if we all were to lie down at night and our final thought was, please help us to heal the planet and its people from this situation we're in.
Yeah, absolutely, because
that's very powerful.
Yeah, because it's we are all connected. It is a collective consciousness. So, like we said at the beginning, really, is the more we all do that, the more we're doing it for the collective. Because this isn't individual. This is like everyone now. This is like everyone. We need to,
come together.
Absolutely. We're going through this ascension process, and so I think, the ones
it's an interesting thing as well there. I think that's something to let people know, is that when you can watch things playing out on the physical plane, that however it's impacting you, worrying about the virus, worrying about being locked down, not able to work, losing your job, you might already be aware of the child trafficking thing, or whatever aspect of this it might be, is understanding that there's also this energetic thing going on, the ascension, the great awakening. And if you don't know about that, there's so much information out there about it, but whether you understand it or have no idea about it, it's worth looking at, because it might just help you to understand why everything seems to be breaking down and being this negative stuff seems to be coming up in front of us. And really we should be celebrating the negatives coming up so that we can go, hey, something else we need to let go of and work on, and being glad that it's all being shown, what that saying that everything that's been hidden will be revealed, and it really will. And we're moving into that time now, so that gives you an extra layer of hope and understanding, if you will, of what's happening. So I think that's really useful to know for those people who want that information, the Great Awakening, the Ascension, and the fact that we're heading towards the 21st of December, the solstice, when if you're into astronomy, all of the planets and the astrology line up together, and it's never happened in thousands and thousands of years. They're going to all line up, and it's, think, Starship Trooper stuff out there. It's really, and it's nothing to be scared of. It's just going to be, someone explained to me, the caterpillar doesn't worry how it becomes a butterfly. It just does, and it goes through the process of becoming a butterfly. And that's like us. We're going to go through this process with the awakening and the ascension, and at some point we're going to look around and think, wow.
And the ascension is really all about connecting us to our natural essence of truth, compassion, and love. And it's that unconditional love, for all beings, for the whole planet. And I think there's so many people out there that take out all the pandemic side of things, the conspiracy theory side of things, take all of that out. There is most people out there that are going, absolutely, this planet needs help. David Attenborough has obviously been talking a lot about it right now, that the global warming, and obviously like a lot of the species being extinct, going to go extinct, so we know that there needs to be this change. And I absolutely agree with you that actually it can give people a sense of reassurance and a sense of calm, inner peace, in a time when there is a lot of turmoil, a lot of fear, and a lot of confusion. And it can just bring you back to that sense of kind of that little bit more feeling more grounded, isn't it? And kind of going, okay, if this is what this is to do with, then I'm just going to ride the emotions. I'm just going to tap it out. I'm going to be out in nature. I'm going to do what I can to get through this time, to get through to that other side, because we're heading to the fifth dimension, which is all about unconditional love. And, that's going to be incredible. So
that's a lovely place to leave you all. So if you want any more information, at the end of this video will be Victoria's contact details and my contact details if anybody needs my help with being able to speak out about what they're feeling onto a bigger platform. Please reach out. But we hope this has helped you. Thanks so much, Victoria. Lovely talking to you.
Welcome.
And a very beautiful and lovely technique. So lots of love to you, and lots of love to all of you. Hope it's helping you, and see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.